Okay. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Hi, everyone. Welcome, welcome. Nice to see your faces. Okay, I'm going to, before we get started, turn this over to Anne so that she can say a few words to everyone before we jump on our very last workshop in the series. I'm gonna miss you guys. Okay, Anne, go for it.
Hi, everybody. It's Ann Sloggett at Community Futures, and just wanted to welcome you for the last webinar, and wanted to thank Rose for all her help and hard work, and Sophie for all the contributions that she has made to this. And yeah, so if you haven't already sent in the signed contribution agreement to me, it would be great if you could do so in the next day or two. That would be greatly appreciated. So let's take it away.
Great, thank you, Anne. Okay, everyone, it is very nice to see you. I'm just going to mute Anne here just so we don't get any background noise. Okay, it's so nice to see all of you. I hope that you are having a wonderful, amazing Monday. It's very nice outside, so thank you so much for joining us to do this virtual workshop. Today, as we mentioned, it's the last workshop in this series, and we have Sophie joining us again. So excited to have her on with us today. She is going to be giving us a lot of great insight again. So we're so lucky to have her here with us. Today, we're obviously focusing on social media planning and selling online. That's kind of what we're going to wrap everything up with today. So as you can see, look at you guys. You've gone through all of these amazing 4 workshops. Today's the last one. So I'm hoping that everyone feels like they're in control and they're ready to push their business to the next level, whether that be through a pivot or whether that be just expanding your current offerings. I'm so very excited for all of you, and I know that you're going to do amazing things. So I think that you all have a pretty good idea of who I am by now, so I'm just going to skip right through this. But if this is your first time joining on the call, my name is Rose Terry, and I am the marketing manager and a senior innovation specialist at the Innovation Cluster. And basically, my passion and what I do for a living is I help startups shape the future. So I work with startups every day, and it's so much fun. So I'm excited to share a lot of my knowledge with you through these workshops. Today, what I hope all of you get out of this final workshop that we are hosting is to develop your digital marketing strategy further. We're also going to be talking about reaching your target market. We'll be talking about the customer sales process and then how to put it all together. Okay, so we're going to talk about how you can take everything that you've learned and put it all together so that you can sell. And our gift to you, as you know already, is this wonderful guide. So Sophie and I worked together on this guide. You should have received it from Anne just last week, and so feel free to take any notes. We do have some opportunities within this guide for you to kind of work away on some of your social media strategies, so please utilize that. Of course, we'll be sending out a recording of this workshop following the session, so if you missed anything, you can always go back and rewatch it if you need to. And of course, we are always happy to send you the presentation afterwards, so if you'd like that, just let Anne know and we'll send it to you, okay? Looking so much forward to diving deeper into social media planning and selling online. So, as you can probably see on your screen, we have Sophie joining us today. I'm just going to ensure we actually have Sophie, whoopsie, able to control here, and she should be able to flip through the slides. But Sophie, just so that everyone knows, if you didn't have a chance to meet her during the second workshop in this workshop series of 4, Sophie is an incredible human. We are so lucky to have her in the community in Peterborough and the Kawarthas, but aside from that, she is an expert in everything that has to do with digital, social media, website, all over the place. So we're really, really lucky to have her to share all of her valuable insight today. And I'm going to pass it over to Sophie.
Heather actually took that picture, now that I think about it.
Heather did take that picture.
Yeah, Heather took that picture from, she was with you guys last week for
Yes.
the photography part of the webinars. I couldn't make it, but I can't wait to see the recording. Okay,
Yeah.
so I'm at 123 Digital Power, and every business is different. Every single business is different. Why is that? Because your personality is different, and where your clients are different, and your products are different. So what I'm going to share with you are some examples of what others are doing in taking what they have to help online and get them found. First, I'm going to be talking about, and then secondly, oh, for goodness sake, sorry about that. Why do people call on your home phone? Does anyone use their freaking home phone anymore? No, anyways. So, so how to get found, and then how to take that and actually link back to your e-commerce efforts. Okay, so just because you've built an e-commerce site doesn't necessarily mean they're going to find it. There are certain things you need to do to that e-commerce site. So I'll be using some examples of some people that I know applied for the grant that have an e-commerce site. A lot of the things they're about to do is to help that e-commerce site get found. Or they have the e-commerce site and they've optimized it, and what they're going to do now is put it out there through social media so it engages with their clients. So the first thing I want to talk about is the Google listing, because it's so important. And so this slide was actually from the last presentation saying we're going to talk about it more on the last webinar, and here we are, the last webinar, talking about it more. So I'm pressing the button once and I'm going to wait. Okay, so that didn't work. So now I'm going to press this button once. There. What the heck, girlfriend? What am I doing? So I am going to do it again. You know what? Why don't you just press the button? Okay, next. Yay, that works. Okay, we've got it going on. So this is just a really simple example. During the COVID, I was helping a number of businesses, as you know, in the Peterborough area. And my first thing was to take a step back and say, are you actually even getting found? So you really want to start at the rudimentary levels of making sure you own your Google listing. That is so critical to whatever you do. And then look at that Google listing, because that's the first thing that comes up above the fold when someone is doing a search. And you want to think about, they're going to click on it, and does it lead them back to where you want them to go? In this case, they wanted a phone call. So get a quote gets them to, oh no, actually in this one, they wanted an email. I apologize. So this one, we attached it to their email. So someone clicks on that and Tim gets an email because that's what he wanted. So we got him getting found. And then we have the fact that someone clicks on it. So you want to always put yourself in your client's shoes and say, once they found me, are they able to get me the way I want them to? Or am I going to make them wait and wait because I didn't realize they just sent an email or something? And are they, when they're putting in certain keywords, am I coming up? So how do you make sure that this Google listing comes up? There's something called posts that you do to your Google listing. And as you post to it, you want to make sure the text in the post that you write have the keywords that your clients are looking for. So you do that just once a week on your Google listing, and it will outperform anything else you're doing in helping you get found. I help clients spend a couple $1,000s a month on Google Ads, where the Google listings, these free things, outperform them in helping them get found. So that is so critical. So the other, oh, damn, I clicked. Okay, just next. Excellent. So what we did with these guys, with Blue Streak Records, is we claimed their Google listing. We gave them a free Google website. Can't do e-commerce on it. It's just, they wanted just phone calls or emails. So that's what I showed you in the last slide. It was their free Google website that comes with the Google listing. And then we actually created on their Facebook page, we just started posting to it. Next slide. So what you see all of a sudden is this is the impact it had right away. Almost 800 people seeing some of their posts the first week we launched. They weren't a new company. They'd already been in Peterborough for many, many years, I think over 30 years, but they just didn't have an online presence. So that was number one, is okay, where is my target clients? What are they searching for? Is my Google listing representing that? Next slide. So then, this is another company we were working with, and again, these guys weren't interested in e-commerce at this point, but I'm just sharing with you in a couple of slides how powerful it is when you add your e-commerce efforts to this, which is how you get found. So now this is, I think I searched for downtown Peterborough groceries, or groceries in the downtown Peterborough area. So Min's comes up along with No Frills, along with the farmer's market, which is so cool. So Min's is who we were working with here. So what we did was claim their Google listing, and once a week I go in and I post on their Google listing for them. So that helps them get found. Otherwise, they wouldn't have been able to be found. Next slide. So the impact is, I think they were searched for in the first quarter 42,000 times. They came up on their Google listing, which is just so amazing, right? So, and again, all this is free. It's a matter of thinking it through and how do I leverage your Google listing. Next slide. So this is, I'm not sure why I have this again. Can we go to the next slide? Sorry. So this is the Google listing. Not only does it show him that he's got, and I think it was 42,000 searches in the last month, it also shows you when you go to your Google listing on the left there, if you click on Insights, how many people went to your website, so your new e-commerce site, from the Google listing. How many people actually look for directions if you have an address. So my Google listing, for example, I don't have an address on mine because I sell services and I don't want people coming to my home, which is where my office is. So you can have a Google listing for services if you have that type of business, or if you have a retail or business where you want people to come, you make sure you have your address on it. So you can see if they've called, how many times they've looked for directions, and how many times they actually went to your website. Don't go to the next slide yet, but on this same location, you're able to scroll down and scroll up when you're on your Google listing to see which keywords did they use to find you, which is critical. And then you want to make sure that, okay, there are some keywords that I know my clients are searching for, but I don't use them. So if you don't use them, they're not going to find you, because you need to use the keywords that Google is going to see, and you're going to match basically a question that your audience is asking. They're going to say, they're going to ask, where is the closest, spa in my area? Spas downtown Peterborough, spas north end Peterborough, whatever your keywords are, you need to make sure your posts are using those words so that Google finds them. Next slide, please, Rose. So next slide, and I apparently made some funny things going here. So this is Google's free listing for Min's. It's a Google website again, and you can see with him, he didn't want an email, he just wanted a phone call. So you can see there it says call. If you remember with Tim's for Blue Streak, it said get a quote. So with that one, it was an email. So for you guys, with your new websites, you can say buy now, learn more, where it's actually going to go to your e-commerce site, which is what I recommend you do. So I recommend that you're going to go and get your Google listing. You're going to make sure that you've claimed it. I have a webinar on my website that I think Anne and Rose shared with you that shows you how to claim your Google listing. And then what you're going to do is make sure it works for your business, works for your business process. Next slide, please. So now you've created this is your items library in your e-commerce website. So as Brandon was showing you in our first or our second webinar, you're going to go into the back end of your new e-commerce site, whether you're using Shopify, whether you're using WordPress and WooCommerce, whether you're using Weebly's and its Square shopping cart, or whether you're using Wix and its built-in shopping cart, whichever one you're going to use, you end up seeing something like this, and each one is an item that you're selling online. Okay, now each one of these, you're going to put in how many of them you have. So this is Tiny Greens. She's just started her new online website, and she's just started selling online. And we hope that she's gotten the grant, because there's a whole bunch of things she needs to do to take it to the next level. And I'll show you that in a second. So one of the things is the stock items. You need to indicate how many of these things do you have at your location. So you have a picture of it, you have a name, you have the type of item it is, if it's physical or digital, or if it's a service, the price, and then how many you have in stock. The how many you have in stock, you want to think that through, because as you put that in there, you know that you might put the link to that item out on social media. You might put it on your Google listing. You might, and of course, it's on your website. So regardless of where they buy from, your stock is going to indicate, okay, someone bought it on Facebook, so it now goes down to 7 if that's an 8, that first one. Someone buys it through your Google listing, it goes down to 6. So you're never overselling, you're never overcommitting. So that's kind of so cool. That's why now you've got everything in a central spot. You've created your items that you can sell online, and it's critical. So that's why a lot of people, you'll find out, you know, they're saying they're doing inventory count. And that's what they're doing, is they're using a central place. So you want to use your central item library to put your products in, and make sure your inventory is kept up to date, because if someone buys it and it's down to 0, so for example, right now I know Tiny Greens has some tropical plant packs that are down to 0, but I also know last Thursday she got a new order in of all these tropical plants. So she went in over the weekend, did her inventory count, and updated the stock. Doesn't mean anyone knows about it. So the next steps are, we're going to go to Facebook and let people know, hey, we've got more of these products in. So I'll talk about that in a second. So each one of these items you can take if you want and get the link from it, from your back end of your, from your website. Or if you just go to your new website and you click on search and you search for an item, that has a unique URL. Every item in your website has kind of a page that goes to it with a unique URL, and that's the link that we're putting on social. That's the link you're putting on social. Okay, does that make sense? Next page. So this is when you're in the back end of whichever of your sites. You're going to put in, if it's a physical site or an electronic site, you're going to put in, product. You're going to put in if it's what the title is, and the title, you want to think of what are they searching for on Google, because the title is the most sensitive to search engine optimization, to what Google is searching for. You want your title to be something that, okay, they might search for a yucca plant, you know, so this is where you want to put that name of whatever the keywords are in the title. Then the description, and this is the one part on throughout the new site that we created for Tiny Greens. We have no descriptions in there. Then don't go to the next slide, but if you scroll down on this, on every one of the types of e-commerce sites that are out there, you're going to find something that says SEO, SEO link, and SEO description. And we don't have any of those filled in for Tiny Greens yet either. So that would be part of the work that we have to do to get this e-commerce site to be found, the individual products, through Google. So that's one of the things you think, wow, that's a lot of work, but it's worth it, because now if you think of what are those products that I can resell online or services, you want to make sure that each one of them has a proper title. Then when you scroll down on this page that you're entering, you want to optimize it for Google, where you're going to have the proper title, the proper description, and each one of these platforms gives you a place to do that, and the proper inventory numbers. And of course, good photos help. And that was another thing with Tiny Greens, is they were doing it themselves. So they need to go back in, and I'll bet you Heather's seminar had a lot of good suggestions for them, because we have a lot of dark photos you're going to notice. That's just because she needed to get it out. She needs to update and upgrade all of her photos to something that's a little brighter, and that's and something that's a little bit more appealing. So that makes sense, right? So you kind of, each one of these becomes a page. It gives you a unique URL that you're going to able to put on your different social media. So next slide. So oh, I didn't know I had this. Okay, so remember I said don't go to the next slide. I should have said go to the next slide. So this is what happens when you scroll down. These are the things you've got to fill in on each one of your products that that a lot of people forget to do, but it's part of setting up your e-commerce site properly. So you go in and you optimize the permalink, this SEO title, and the SEO description. And then that way, when someone is searching for it, your Google will display whatever you have as in the title, and it'll display whatever you have in that description. So it's very important. It says it's optional, so you're able to get your site out there and up before you go in and fill all these in. But if you're able to do it right away, it's awesome. I have a lot of clients that say, well, let's just get it all up first. Let's get it, you know, the products I really want to sell online first, get it, and then go in and optimize. So don't forget to go in and optimize. Next slide. So this is what it ends up looking like when you finally launch your site. You'll have the photo that we showed you earlier, the title, the price, and people can buy one or two. They can add it to cart, and the description would be in there. So at the top left, you see tinygreens.ca/product/ basically yucca dash mini dash. So whatever your title was ends up being the unique link to your product. So you kind of want to think that through. And that's what we copy. And that's when I say grab the link, you're going to hover over that link and you're going to highlight it and Control-C, which copies it. And then you're going to take that and you're going to use it in different locations. So what I do personally is I'll go into Tiny Greens and see where she has the most inventory. And then that's what I would suggest she posts on her social. So obviously not some place that you have like 1 or 2 left or 0 left, because say there were 0 of these, when someone came to buy it, instead of it saying available for pickup, it's going to say sold out. So that's something you want to remember, that you need to update that. Next slide. So this is then, what do you do with those links? Well, one of the things you do is you can go to Facebook. If your target audience is over 35, then you want to be on Facebook, especially if they're women over 35, women over 45. We are on Facebook. Young moms seem to be on Facebook. They may not chat as much, but they certainly are in groups, is what I'm finding. Hey, Rose? So, but you're chattier than most. No, you're not actually. You're not. Yeah, you're not. So what you want to do is, if your target audience is on Facebook, see on the left there, there's something that says shop right underneath home. You can go, each one of your business pages, the first time you create it, you're just creating a product. And then the next time you go in, you're going to see the word shop on the left there. So you want to add a product. So when you click on add that product, it's going to say what's the title, what's the photo, what's the price, and then you're going to put in that link that I showed you before that goes right to your e-commerce site. So this is critical. And then you're able to share that product. Can we go to the next slide? I don't remember what the next slide is. That's right. So what it ends up happening is, this is the same one I showed you on her website that we put up there. So here you can see we added it as a product. And when someone clicks on it, where are they buying it? Back at the website. So whatever you put in as the inventory, when someone purchases it, it's going to decrease it on the website. So you don't have to worry about, oh, someone bought it on Facebook. How will I know someone bought it on Instagram? So the cool thing, the real cool thing is, if you have target clients under 35, then you also want to be on Instagram. So in her case, she has target clients over 45 and under 35. So she's on both locations. So with the target audiences that are under 35, because Instagram is owned by Facebook, once you create your Facebook business page, you can then also, obviously, it doesn't matter, you can create your Instagram account first, your Facebook account first, doesn't matter which you do, but once you have both, you want to connect the two together. So you go to Instagram and you say connect to my business Facebook page, or you go to your business Facebook page, you connect to Instagram. And why do you do that? There are many reasons. I'm not going to get into all of them here. We could have a full session. I'm sure Rose has done these herself in the past because she rules at this. But Instagram has so many different abilities. And what's really cool is once you create your shop on your business page, you can now on your Instagram tag that photo. So someone clicks on it, they automatically get sent to the checkout on the Facebook page, but it actually takes them to your website. So you can actually, when you do a post on Instagram, only after you've created your shop on Facebook, you can tag your business, you can tag your items on Instagram. So right now, so it takes about 4 days. Once you create your shop on your business Facebook page, that's step one. Awesome. You add some products, the ones that you want to sell. Fabulous. You create a post on Facebook, and you know how you can tag a human? You can now tag your product. When you do that, someone clicks on it and they get sent to this page and they can check out and buy this product. It's very cool. If you're on Instagram, you can upload a photo to Instagram of this product. And then when you're about to post, it says tag a human, or now it'll also say tag a product. So you can't get that tag a product until you've created your business page shop, okay? So then you tag the product and someone clicks on that on Instagram. Where are they sent back? To that same central e-commerce site you just created. It's very cool. So that same inventory is being accessed, but people are seeing it on Instagram or on Facebook, depending on where your target market is, or on Google listing. And what I really like is on your Instagram stories, you can tag a product also on your Instagram stories. And that's really cool because we're finding just on social media through the stories, a lot of people are seeing it and they click on it, buy now, and they're buying the plants. So, and these stories are coming from Instagram and we're flowing them right through to Facebook. It's the same story because the stories behave beautifully from Instagram to Facebook. So that is one of the things when you're putting your message out there and you have your e-commerce site. Now what? Take a step back and think, okay, I need to put a shop on Facebook. And then I'm going to, within 4 days, if I have an Instagram account, I'll be able to tag my products on Instagram. Very cool. Next slide. And this, I'm not sure what I'm just showing you when you click on the checkout, you end up back on the website. Everything goes back to your central website now that you've created it. Next slide. And this shows you what it's like when you're actually posting on Facebook now. So you're going to post, you're able to tag. And so when you click on tag persons, you put in the @ and you tag the person's name and it comes up, or the business. Now what happens, because you have a shop on you've created a business page on Facebook and you've created a shop, you can now tag that photo and click on it and see that little dot that's kind of in the middle right there. That little dot ends up, you click on that and you can tag your shop, tag your item. Next slide. And so what's really cool now, what you've done is you've really strengthened your SEO. So if I'm looking for mini yucca trees, okay, I'm sure it's not yucky trees, but yucca trees in Peterborough, what comes up? But Her Tiny Greens Facebook shop comes up. And we just put that up like the other day. So cool, right? So it's very search engine friendly and it all links back to your e-commerce site. So without that, they're seeing it, but they can't buy it. This way it's strengthening your e-commerce site. Next. So remember I was talking about your Google listing. So when you go to your Google listing, it's very critical to also add your products to your Google listing. So on your Google listing, when you go to the back end, you're going to find on the left, and you scroll down a little bit on your left there, you see products. When you clicked on that, you're able to add a product on Google listing. So on that, you're adding, this is going to sound familiar because it's the exact same as what I just showed you on adding a product to Facebook. You're adding a photo, you're adding the title, you're adding the price, you're adding a description, and then that link that you click on it links back to where? Your e-commerce site. So you get the link back to the e-commerce site. So it's very, very simple to do, and it gets Google knowing that, hey, they sell these products. You sell these products. And what happens is now, because you have that product on your Google listing, when someone searches for your Google listing or your keywords, not only will your Google listing come up, but also whichever product you've posted in the last 7 days will also come up. Then it disappears. Then the next product you post will show up for 7 days, then it disappears. So I always suggest post at least once a week, just once a week, to your Google listing, because that latest product comes up. So Google listing is not where you're going to post, you know, this is what I did with my dogs on the weekend. You're actually posting specific product information, linking back to your website. Really helps. Next slide. And this just shows you, I'm not going to spend too much time on this, but this shows you on Google listing what it's like to add a product. The photo, the product name, and that thing in the middle there where it says vacuum, you can add categories, which is clever. So instead of just putting in a Dyson vacuum, I've got them all under vacuums. So this is for Cortha TV and stereo. Instead of putting in just a list of TVs, I've categorized them. So I've categorized his products here the same way I have on his e-commerce site. So you think of your e-commerce site, how have I categorized my products? It's probably how you want to categorize your products on your Google listing, because it helps Google listing know that you have these categories. So that's another tip, and it works really well. Next slide. So this is someone that I interviewed the other day, and I haven't posted it yet, but I will as a video, that you really need to be authentic when you're on social media. And this young lady, she's got her website is, I don't think it's e-commerce, but she is a business owner up in Lakefield or Bridge North. Oh my goodness, I should know. Lakefield. And so she has Tragically Hip, which is a store that sells clothes. So during COVID, of course, you're thinking, how are you going to try clothes on? How are you going to buy stuff? But she did really well because she put herself out there, which she had never done before. She started taking pictures of herself in her clothes, bundling things together, and she was consistent and put it out there. Now imagine if she also had a link to buy now. You know, that, so the e-commerce, if she had that done and she put that link on there, would have been outstanding. But I interviewed her because of what she did. She got all sorts of new clients that never heard of her before. She was being authentic. She was being herself. She's putting herself out there. And I don't know, you can see on these ones, this one had 377 likes. Like, the amount of people that engaged with her post because she put herself out there and was consistent, got these bundles together, was outstanding. So you may want to just take a look at her approach, but now that you've got your e-commerce, think of how you can put your e-commerce in that. Rose, next. So this is just more showing her being herself, and she does a giveaway once a week as well, and I think she's got 500 likes on that and whatnot. Next. And this, I showed it to you last time, and this is just showing you an example of That's a Wrap. We put an online shop on her Wibbly website. Wibbly comes with a beautiful e-commerce platform, which they use. That's called Shopify. That's called Square. So it works really well. So we put that together for. Next slide. And what you'll see is when you're going on her website now, you can shop. And she's been selling out consistently, which is wonderful because we put on there the numbers of platters that she wants to sell of each of these. Next one. And how is she selling them? Through Facebook. So on Facebook, if you go there now, you're going to find that she's got a link back to her website where people can buy her meals. So it's consistent. She's got a daily special. Every day is a different special. People are looking forward to it, and she's made it really simple for them to buy it. And then she gets an email every time someone buys it, but she also goes to her website to see how many orders she has for that day. So it's something that you may also want to look at. It's a simple approach, and it works really well for her. Next slide. So this is my last slide. And so I didn't time it this time, but I think I'm doing well because Rose is perfect, thank God. Last time she made me time it right to the minute, right to the second. So, so this shows you what you want to think about is you're the person in the desk over there with the coffee, and you're looking at your computer, okay? And you're also running around doing everything in the background. People might be, oh, this isn't the last slide. I apologize. I've got 3 more, 4 more. Okay, so I will continue. So what happens is I'm finding for all of the people that have done well, especially now post-COVID, during COVID, they are doing their customer service through all these different platforms that they didn't think of before. So they've got their e-commerce site, but people are asking them questions. Now you've put a link out on Facebook. So you're getting direct messages from Facebook about that link you just put up. Or you've put something on your Google listing. They're asking you directly through your Google listing what that's all about. Or you've included Zoom as one of your methods to talk to people. You're now talking to people through Zoom. So you've got to make sure that all of these different places that we've put your products now, that when they're messaging you from those places, that it links back to you. And so simplify that process. You might have one email that you've made common that it all links back to, and maybe it's one cell phone for the text messaging. That way you're not missing anything. That way if you are one of these people that can respond and you don't mind working that way, awesome. If you're one of these people that will like to schedule, I'm going to reply from 2 to 3 every day. That's up to you. So I've got clients that do it either way. I know I do the response for some of my clients, and I'm just always on. I like being always on. That's just my personality. But other people need to schedule it, and that works better for them, and that's okay. So next slide. So this one was, as I was saying with these folks, she was saying she was doing all of her sales support prior to them buying through send a message. And the people loved the fact that they were talking to the human that was the owner of the company. So they were talking back and forth, just chatting back and forth about whatever it is they were going to buy. She said that she thinks, when I interviewed her, that that's why she ended up selling as much as she did through COVID. And those new clients are now going to be continued as new clients for her as she opens up her shop. Next slide. So this one, I'm not sure which one it is. What we're finding out here is Tina is getting messages on Facebook, on Instagram, through her new website. So again, she's had to make sure, because she was getting so many different ones and she had about 5 different emails, we had to narrow that down so she's getting them all through one email so that she's not missing any clients. Client might sit there and think that we don't care. It's just because it went to the wrong email. They don't know that. So you really want to think that through. Next slide. Is this, oh good. And so these guys made a very real interesting, there's a long video I have of them. I think it's about a half an hour of how we pivoted. I created a Shopify website for them with a huge inventory of their products. And what she was saying is through COVID, her business stayed fairly solid. And she was just surprised at how many different ways people were communicating to her, whether it was through her Facebook site, whether it was through Instagram, whether it was through messaging through her new website. So they were coming at all different directions. So it was interesting what was consistent through all the businesses that are doing well with e-commerce was that they were doing their customer service through many different touch points versus just the e-commerce site. So you want to think about that. It's not going to happen just through your e-commerce site. It's going to happen through all these different touch points. People are getting used to that. So you want to think that through and get someone to go through each of your different points, pretend they're a client and see what experience they're having, and then see how you're receiving their message so that you can give them the best experience. And they're doing a lot of their they're selling their e-bikes and their essential oils and their yoga gear all through virtually in the last few months, and doing a lot of Zoom chats to show people what they have. So now the next slide, I think, is my last slide. So all I'm just wrapping up with this is think about all of the different points of touch points with your clients, and think about how you can optimize that. But you need to look and be responsive and be authentic. People love, in all those cases, people love the fact that they were dealing with the person that was the owner or the face of the company. Okay, Rose.
Thank you so much, Sophie. That was great. Can everyone hear me? Yes, yes. Okay, good. Okay. Whoops. So that was awesome. And actually, that information from Sophie leads very well into what I'm going to be talking about with you today. So we're talking about digital and social media marketing. Specifically, that's what we're focusing on. And I think I said previously in other workshops, I just want to make clear that even though through this whole series we focused around digital, that does not mean that other traditional forms of advertising are not still useful and still beneficial. So it really does, as I mentioned earlier, depend on your target market, who you're marketing to, where they are, you know, if they're listening to radio, or maybe they are a demographic that still reads the newspaper physically, you know, they don't necessarily scroll through it on their phone. So just keep that in mind, because even though we are focusing on digital and social media today, there are other ways that you can still communicate with your customers, but of course it does depend on your target market, as Sophie was saying. So when we get into a digital strategy, just for you to understand exactly what that means, it is the who, what, when, and where of listening, responding to consumers, bridging brand experiences, iterating offers, and collecting and activating consumer relationships in order to accomplish an actionable and measurable objective. And I'm going to be talking about a lot about key performance indicators today, so that you can understand how to take a look at your analytics and make sure that your social media and your digital advertising is actually working for you, so that you're not just you know, throwing things at the wall and you're not getting, you know, those sales back in return, because that's the point at the end of the day, right? We want to nurture those relationships, and at the end of the day we want to see sales. That's why we're doing this. So I'm going to talk about that a bit today, which I'm really excited to share with you all. So the value of digital advertising is huge, right? For businesses, it, you know, since the kind of like digital revolution happened, in terms of advertising, it's made a significant difference, because there are a lot of kind of unique things about digital advertising that, you know, you may not see with other forms of advertising. So first thing is personalization of targeting. Second is, of course, that it's agile. There's immediacy. Measurement is huge. So you have the ability to really dig down and measure your digital advertising. And then, you know, generally, I would say across the board, advertising digitally, you will see that it tends to be less expensive than maybe its counterpart of traditional advertising. So those are all five very important things to keep in mind when it comes to digital advertising. The next thing that I want to point out is some myths about digital advertising, because there are some myths, and I think it's important to address them so that everyone understands. So these are all fake facts. These are not real. These are myths, okay? That little unicorn on the screen, this is not real. All traffic is good traffic. That is not true. At the end of the day, you want to be seeing your traffic convert, and you want the traffic that is coming to your webpage to be part of your target market. So not all traffic is good traffic. Digital does not always equal immediate return on investment. So one thing that I always like to tell business owners is that even though you're investing into a digital strategy, you may not see a return on investment right away. It does take time. It is a long game, okay? Digital doesn't work for B2B, so business to business. That's not true either. Digital advertising can be fantastic for business to business marketing. So just because if you're a business that sells to another business, definitely can be a great space for you to be in. The next myth is you need to capitalize on every channel. That's not true either, and Sophie sort of touched on that a little bit earlier. I'm not getting too deep into this part of target market analysis and which channels you should go into. There is a video, though, on the Innovation Cluster's website under our COVID-19 resources, which actually goes into a lot more detail about which channel to capitalize on. But just so you know, you really should be picking, 2 to 3 that really make sense for your business and kind of focus your efforts there based on who your target market is, because you don't need to spread yourself so thin, and you may not see the ROI if you are putting out your business on every possible channel that you can. Email is dead. That's a myth. I'm going to be talking about that more today. Email is huge. The funnel is dead. That's a myth too. Funnels are still great, even though they don't necessarily look what they used to look like in the past. A couple more myths here. Digital primarily matters only to technology and business to consumer companies. That's not true. It's very important for other businesses, as you can see, especially during COVID, pivoting to make sure that you're involved in digital advertising is huge. And then if we do enough digital initiatives, we will get there. That's not true either. That's why we talk a lot in the beginning about your strategy, working on your marketing strategy, and really, narrowing it down so that you know that the tactics that you're implementing after you've worked on your strategy are the right tactics to implement. Okay, so I hope that everyone had the opportunity to work on their marketing plans, because that's going to define which initiatives you need to actually follow through with. Okay, I hope you guys liked my little myths. Now we're going to get into some cost-effective ways to advertise digitally. And these are just some ideas, so there are certainly other ways, but especially when you are a smaller or SME that is, looking to advertise, and maybe your marketing budgets, especially during COVID, may not totally be where you want them to be right now. That's okay. These are some ways that are very cost-effective that you can start to work on. So first one, I have blogging or podcasting. That's a great way to set yourself as well as your business apart as an expert in your field. The second one, I have market yourself, i.e. you as a business owner, as an expert in your field. That I think we talked about a little bit before. Get on LinkedIn, make sure that you are talking about your business, make sure that you set yourself apart as an expert, because people will start to get to know you and associate you with your business, and they will start to think of you when they think of the products and services that you have to offer. Google My Business account, okay, that's important. Email lists are huge. I'm going to talk about that today and how you can start to build your email list. But definitely one tip for that is by promoting freebies through a email campaign. Okay, so if you want to increase your email subscribers, you can have pop-ups on your website that maybe will offer, a guide or a freebie or a save a percentage off. That will help to increase your email list and build up your funnel. Create an affiliate program or a referral program, host webinars, create a social media page or group, offer free educational information on your website, recycle old content. Your followers are not necessarily following you 24/7. So content that may seem like it's old and outdated to you, as long as it's still relevant, you can still continue to share that content. Online contests can be very good, as you saw from what Sophie shared with the Tragically Hip. You could see she was doing some contests on her Facebook page. That can be a very good way of reaching more and generating a higher audience to market to. And then partnerships and co-branding. If you know of a business that shares a similar target market to you, it does absolutely make sense if they also are looking to expand their reach. It does make sense for them to potentially co-brand or partner with you on certain different projects. And that can help to increase both of your reach. And generally, that can be a very cost-effective way to do that. So if you can partner with another business or co-brand on something that I highly recommend. So those are just a couple ideas. for all of you to take into consideration if you're looking for different tactics, now that we've finished our marketing strategies, different tactics to advertise digitally and not necessarily break the bank doing it. The next piece that I want to get into is around social media, and when we start to think about posting our content. Okay, so now we're starting to move into a little bit more nitty-gritty on when you're posting on social media to ensure that you're keeping all of your followers engaged. So you've probably heard of the 80-20 rule in business, and you can also apply this lovely 80-20 rule to your posting when it comes to content. So one way to ensure that you're keeping your followers and potential customers in mind is you do want to make sure that you're having about 80% of your social media posts addressing, informing, educating, and entertaining your audience. And then the 20% should promote your business and have a call to action, okay? So we don't want to be a hard sell on our business and our products all the time. That does not build relationship with your audience. So please try to think of, when you're posting, the 80-20 rule. Try to make sure that 80% of the time you're building that relationship, you're educating your consumers, you are creating an identity for your brand, and then the 20% of the time is when you're going to add in that call to action, that selling, okay, is going to come into play. So as I move into the next piece, this is something else that you can think of. This is also a very good way of thinking about your content ratios. And I would say, though, this one is, I don't think this necessarily applies as much to Instagram, so you don't necessarily need to do this for Instagram, but think about the 411 rule when it comes to if you are, on Twitter or you're on Facebook or LinkedIn. 411 rule can be really helpful. So what you want to think about is when you are posting, you want to have 4 pieces of curated content. And remember, you don't always need to be rushing to create your own content all the time. When you are building conversation around your brand and you're establishing your brand as an expert, a good way to keep your audience engaged is by also sharing other content from other, if there are news articles that are relevant to your audience or your business, or if there are popular industry blogs. Those are the types of things that you can share to keep your audience engaged. And it also means that, you can take more time to work on the other curated content that you want to create that's yours. So the next one is 1 piece of original content. And generally you want this original content to be entertaining in-house content, okay? So this is something that is not selling. This is not you selling something to your customers. This is you entertaining them or educating them, or letting them in on some ideas or tips or tricks. That can make a huge difference when it comes to building the relationship with your brand. And then finally is your sales piece, your 1 piece of promotional content. So that's the 411 rule. So I really do want you to think about, when you're posting your content, we have the 80-20 rule, and then we have the 411 rule, okay? So how do you start? How do we actually start now that we know all of these different things? You do want to remember, of course, that your customers' lives look very different than they did in comparison to 2 to 3 months ago. There's a huge difference. So the way that you are engaging with them now, and the conversations that you're having through social media, digitally, online, they're not going to be the same as what they once were. So you do want to make sure, if you are going to be starting to communicate with them now more heavily, if this is kind of part of your pivot to be more digital, you want to be posting things that tell your audience and your learner where they're actually headed. You want to provide them with frameworks, present facts, use examples. You need to kind of frame exactly what it is that they're, like the journey that they're about to go on with you, okay? So the first steps to think about when we are starting to actually implement these tactics, now we're starting to talk to our audience and put this all out to them, is remember, what are the core challenges that your customers have right now? And then what is the format that you can use to help them? So for example, when Sophie was talking about, you know, having all of your products listed online on your website, maybe if your product is a little bit more hands-on or maybe more difficult, you can always have, you know, video instructions for how to go through the website and purchase, or video instructions for how the pickup process would work, for example, to make them feel more comfortable. So potentially, if you're offering them this new service and they are purchasing, they want to purchase from you, maybe they are not necessarily feeling comfortable with purchasing from you at the moment. So potentially, you know, a video on the website saying, this is what we're doing during COVID. You can order here. We have our lovely e-commerce website set up. And once you place the order, we will do this, that, and the other thing. And then you can, we can deliver it to your front door, or you can come pick it up from us. We all wear masks. We have gloves, we this, that, and the other thing. So having a video can make it a little bit more personal and easy for them to understand. You can also use downloads if you want to also share that type of information with them. That's another way that you can do it as well. And then the next thing is to build an editorial calendar. So when Heather was with us last week, she talked about, you know, producing content for at least 14 days out. And she said that even, you know, you should probably be producing content for the next month, but 14 days is a good place to start. And you want to also think about your editorial calendar. Okay, how am I going to start to push this content out? So I have, you know, 14 to 30 days worth of photography and content that I can post. But what does that look like in terms of what I want to see with my sales, and how am I actually going to push that out to everyone? So this is just an example of an Instagram grid, okay? If for those of you that may be using Instagram, this is kind of what you want your sequence to follow in terms of your Instagram grid. I hope everyone understands what an Instagram grid is, but I would be happy to answer any questions if you do have any after the workshop. So we've got selling, connecting, inspiring, educating, entertaining, right? So it kind of follows this pattern here. That is going to keep your customers interested in following you. It's going to make sure that they're enjoying your content and they're sticking around, and you're building that relationship with them before you hit them with the sales, okay? So this is just an example of that. So when it comes to engagement, these are different ways that you can ensure that you're getting the engagement that you want. You want to create a dialogue with your customers, okay? So we want them to be conversing with us as if we were in a shop with them, okay? As if maybe your bricks and mortar location, if they were walking in, you do want them to be talking to you and conversing with you. So try to create a dialogue with your customers. They like engaging with brands. They want to tell you their thoughts and feedback and what they like and what they don't like. People love being a part of brands and the products. Measure which content your audience engages with most and do more of that, okay? Share, mention, and engage with other content that you like. So as a business, you can definitely be out there commenting on other things that you like and sharing and interacting with other brands. You don't always just need to be doing your own stuff. And then images are huge, obviously, as we talked about last time. So here's a bit of a digital checklist for you. This is in the very first workbook that we sent out to you from the first week. And I was just going to go through this so that you can start to think about, okay, what do I actually need to be thinking about when I am posting? So first you want to, as we talked about when we were talking about the business model canvas and pain points. You really need to understand what is my target market's biggest struggle and what is the biggest obstacle they face in overcoming this struggle. So once you've kind of figured that out, then you can think, okay, what currently actually exists to solve this pain point, and what is the ideal solution to this struggle, and how can I fit in to actually solve this pain point for them, okay? Then when you're posting, you want to offer real and free value to your audience. So ask yourself these questions prior to posting, because this is really important. We really do not want to have any aimless posting. You should always be posting with purpose, okay? Would I find this helpful? Okay, like that's huge, because you don't want to spend your time posting something for your audience to just scroll by because it's not useful. How am I helping to solve a problem today? And how will my content stand out? Because there are lots of other businesses that they're following. So how are you going to stand out? And then when it comes to building your audience, you need to think about your lead management or funnel, okay? You want to think about regularly testing and analyzing your content. As Sophie mentioned, be authentic. It's huge. I think that's been a common theme throughout every single workshop that we've done in this series. Being authentic is very, very important. Write longer captions so that your audience can get to know you and your business. As I mentioned earlier, start conversations. And then remember to manage your paid advertising appropriately. Make sure that your images are great. That's so important, as we talked about in the last workshop. Make sure your copy is on point, okay? Your written copy is on point, and make sure that you always include a call to action whenever you're doing any kind of paid advertising. Otherwise, your audience will not know what to do. Here's an example that I wanted to show. This is one of our clients at the Innovation Cluster, Chimp Treats. I just wanted to give you, I know that Instagram, it can, you know, when you're working with other social media platforms, you really want to make sure that you're making them your own and you're branding them appropriately. So I just thought this was a great local example of how your Instagram page could look like. And remember that you're making really great use of your description, which you can see under Chimp Treats. It says the makers of nice cream, fruitful, and sip. That's their products, okay? And then they have their, you know, the differentiators, the things that set them apart. Healthy plant-based products, female-led Canadian startup, free delivery in Peterborough, and $5 to the GTA. And then they have a link, okay, in their bio that links directly to their product page. So these are all really important things that you want to keep in mind. And then as you can see below, if you're utilizing Instagram, it's always really nice to have some clean Instagram images to capture your stories and save them for later. So you can see they have some behind the scenes, reviews, nice cream. These are all great things that if your viewer, if they're on Instagram, if they miss your story, they can go back and watch it later. This is another great local example that I wanted to share. They're Watson and Lou. They're just in downtown Peterborough. They have a bricks and mortar location, but they pivoted really quickly to be online. And the reason that I wanted to share their Instagram with you is because I think this is really important for all business owners to keep in mind. Is, as you can see in their Instagram description, you know, obviously they do workshops, studios, and local goods. But the biggest thing is they edited their description on their Instagram to reflect what's actually currently going on with COVID. They have free local delivery, curbside pickup, curbside shopping, and then they have their hours for curbside shopping, and they say shop online with a little finger pointing down to their website. That's so very important, because you really want the person that is viewing, if this is the first time seeing Watson and Lou, they're not up to date with anything that's going on with them, that's a great little snippet of how they can actually start interacting with the business right away. So I just wanted to give you those two local examples to take a look at. Your email list is gold. I am a huge advocate for email lists, and you'll hear me say that over and over again. There's so much research and studies and feedback that show how important it is to have your email list continue to grow over time and utilize it correctly. So I'm going to give you some tips for that, because that's a great way to interact with your customers. So you really want to make sure that you're paying attention to your email list, because email marketing is more powerful than ever now. So your email marketing strategy is huge. You want to make sure that your emails are very easy to skim and that they're clear and concise. You want to make sure that you're using the automation functionalities within your whichever email marketing provider you use, whether that's MailChimp or another one. There's lots of great automation that you can utilize within it. Follow the best practices for subject lines. We talked a little bit about that in the last session for copywriting. And of course, for the customers that are already on your email list, this can be an easy way for you to gain customer feedback so that you can improve what you're doing, because we always want to be getting better, right? And a hot tip for you to remember is that the average open rate for emails is 50 to 25%. So one thing that's really cool is you can actually automate to resend your email to those who haven't read it. So I don't know if anyone knew that, but that's a really great tip for emails, is that it's very, very easy to have that email resend out, so to only the ones that didn't open the email, so that they can actually read it. And you can actually do that a couple times. If you're really savvy, you'll change the email subject line so that they know that it's not the same email that went out as before, but keep the content the same. That can actually be a really great way of converting more over to the email that you had initially sent out. If you have a huge email list, you can actually monetize that data, and I'm not going to get too much into that today, but that's something pretty cool. And then make sure that you're understanding your analytics. So I'm going to briefly touch on a business funnel, just because I want you to sort of understand it. And then I'm going to give you an idea of how to go through creating a drip campaign for your email. So how to create a funnel for your business. The first thing is, obviously, you want to generate your leads, okay? So you can educate your market first through SEO, ebooks, online ads, videos, direct email, social media. The next piece is interest. So you want to use videos, drip campaign emails, social media, newsletters, webinars, all those types of things to generate interest. Then you have a follow-up. So email follow-up is huge if you're putting them into your list. That's why we're going to talk about a drip campaign. Conversion, you can use trials, demonstration, and then sale. And when the sale happens, for the most part, we don't just want one sale, right? We really want to make sure that we're also focusing on the upsell. That is important. You want to create habit with your customers. You want them to come back to you. You want to increase their lifetime value. And we talked about Al's Stairway to Heaven, so I'm going to show you guys that again just to refresh your memories, but it's very important. So here's an example. So how a customer could come through a funnel with you. You could have your social media ad, okay, that you've carefully crafted and targeted at your target market. Then potentially that social media ad will send them to a landing page to subscribe for an email list, okay? And through that, you would have your front end offer, which would lead to an email drip campaign. And if this email drip campaign thing is confusing you, don't worry, I'm going to explain what that is in a second. And then you want to upsell in the back end, and then offer a downsize option just in case, and upsell at checkout, okay? That's potentially what your funnel could look like. So not everyone's going to look like this, but this is just an example just so that you have an idea. So this is an email drip campaign, okay? So essentially what an email drip campaign is, for those of you who've never heard about it before, it is a way for you to work on nurturing your your potential customers through your funnel, okay? So you'll see over here on the left-hand side, it says joins a list. So your visitors opt in to, for example, receive a free ebook, okay? As an example. So what will actually end up happening is if you've set up your automation for your email list properly, they should receive an email right away the second that they sign up for your email list, okay? And they should receive, if the way that you're getting them to join your email list is with a free ebook, they should be getting that the second that they sign up for it. And you can do that within your automation. Next, you want to wait for 1 day. Okay, give them a second to breathe. And then on the day after that, you're going to send an email that has personalized content related to their interests. And within the back end of your email marketing system, you can actually make sure that this is already automated. So it's not like every time someone subscribes to your email list, you're going in and being like, okay, I got to send them this email. It's actually going to be automated, so it waits a day and it will send it out for you. You don't even have to look at it again. Once you have this set up in the back end of whatever software you use, it's going to do this for you, okay? Next time, you want to wait for 2 days, then you introduce yourself in your business, let them get to know you. It's direct to their email inbox, which is so nice. So you don't have to worry about algorithms filtering you out. It's going direct to them. And then you're going to wait another 2 days, and then you're going to send them another email, right? And this is when you want to do sales, okay? So that's exactly kind of what a drip email campaign could look like. This next slide is just showing you that there's a very big difference when you get an email between marketing to qualified leads versus sales to qualified leads. So you want to ensure that your first few emails are marketing before we get to sales, okay? So we definitely want to ensure that we are first nurturing them, right? That this is talking about the funnel. How are we getting them down to the sale, which is at the bottom of the funnel? We don't take them directly from lead to sale. You have to nurture them. You have to, you know, build that relationship with them before you sell to them. We can't sell to them right away. So that's just an easy way for you guys to understand a drip email campaign. There are lots of different ways that you can automate your email so that you can market to them even further beyond just these, you know, for this first week of contact with this, with these potential leads. There are definitely more things that you can do to nurture them, but this is what you want it to look like in the first week. You absolutely, it would be a wrong decision to have them join an email list and not nurture them. So make sure that you have this automation set up, because people typically, if they don't start to receive information about you and they don't start to get to know you, they'll unsubscribe pretty quickly. Okay, determining ROI. So just ensure whenever you are spending any kind of money on advertising that you have an idea of, okay, what is the ROI on what I'm spending? These are just some simple equations that you can use to determine your ROI. So if you're, you know, putting money into Facebook ads, for example, you really should be thinking about the fact that we want to at least cover our costs and make more money, right? We don't want to just spend money on Facebook advertising. Like, you don't want to drop $100 into a campaign and not see that $100 come back, unless we're just doing an awareness campaign. Because awareness, you know, is typically expensive, and you may not see that return right away. But when it comes to a campaign where you actually want to get purchases, you want to be seeing at least covering your costs, if not more. Of course, when you're advertising through social media or any kind of digital advertising, you definitely want to lean into education. So you want to make sure that you're providing value. Prioritize your current customers as well, right? They're already in your funnel, they're already qualified leads. So really make sure that you're putting an emphasis on your current customers so that they stay around and you increase that lifetime value of the customer. Remember that people have new needs than they did at one point, and make sure that you're building engagement, as I said, and education at the top of the funnel so that you can nurture your customers toward the bottom of the funnel. So the top of the funnel is really for educating them and for getting them interested and excited about your business and your products, right? It really is about building that excitement around you, because if they're already in the top of the funnel, they want to know. They want to know these things about you. They're excited. You know, you can really start to get people into your brand and make them a part of your business's family, right? And when you're educating your customers, you can kind of do it in two different ways. We can do product-based education, depending on what kind of products you have, and we can also do how-to-based education, which is, you know, maybe they've already purchased your product and maybe you can give them tips and tricks for actually how to use it or how to use it better. And then, you know, if they feel empowered when they're using your products and services, they're way more likely to come back to you again. And why do we know that this educational strategy impacts the bottom line? Well, it can increase awareness and lead generation. And it does. There's actual studies that show that there are better lead to close ratios when you are actually following an educational content strategy. It means that you typically retain your customers for a much longer period of time, and it empowers your customers to attract and engage. And you may find, if you do a really good job of this, your customers will likely be really interested in promoting your business and product themselves without you even encouraging them to do it. And it provides them a ton of value before you actually ask for the sale. And so this strategy can be really, really great for your bottom line. Next thing that I want to talk about is key performance indicators, specifically when it relates to social media marketing. So there are four key performance indicators that I want you to keep in mind when you're actually starting to look at, okay, what's the return on investment for my social media marketing? So the first one, of course, which I know a lot of you probably already have a good idea of, is engagement. And that's essentially measuring the amount of likes, clicks, brand mentions, visits, followers, shares, and comments, right? This is a pretty easy metric to keep on top of. You know, Facebook is very good at showing that rate on your business page, and it's very easy to take a look in the back end. But one thing I want you to keep in mind is that reach means nothing if the engagement isn't there. So you do have to remember that even though Facebook or other, you know, social platforms that you're using will show you how many like potentially could have been reached, that's great, but that doesn't necessarily mean anything unless the engagement is there. You have to be seeing the follow through. That's where you're going to be seeing all the performance. Okay, so that's a huge KPI to keep in mind. Reach, as I mentioned, shows potential number who saw your post or impression, but you have to keep an eye on the traffic data. So if you're following your reach, we got to see, okay, this is how many it reached, but is the traffic actually happening based on this reach? So are you looking at your website analytics to be like, okay, this amount of people came from Facebook, this amount came from Instagram, this amount came from LinkedIn? And then once you have an idea of where exactly these are coming from, then you'll know where to be spending more time, right? Because some places you may just be like, this is not working. My target market is not here. I need to be focusing somewhere else. So think about your leads as a key performance indicator. Measure your lead generation from social media and determine where to put your effort. And then finally, conversion. Pay attention to the channels that actually produce conversion, okay? So really follow your analytics, because the goal of measuring your KPIs isn't just to justify your marketing strategy, it's to improve it so that you know where to put your time and effort. That's so very important. So I shared with you all this Lovely Stairway to Heaven, nod to Led Zeppelin a little while ago. And it just kind of gives you an idea of how to get your customers from awareness all the way to brand insistence, okay? And I just want to make sure that we're thinking back to this and remembering that your customers are always going to start at the bottom of the stairway. They're always going to start in awareness, which unfortunately is a very expensive piece, but we do have to move them through each step before they can get to the next one. So you do have to keep these in mind when you're funneling your customers through. And remember that there are lots of different programs that you can have ongoing to get the customers to the next step, okay? Because they're not all going to funnel into your funnel at one time and then all move down together. Unfortunately, that's not how it works. They're all going to come in at different stages based on where they are, okay? So here are some hot tips for selling online. Once you get your customer to your website, okay, so we've done an amazing job advertising on social or with our digital marketing strategy, or maybe you're implementing some other traditional forms of advertising as well. And now we want to, you know, actually make sure that they're converting once they get to the website. So give every product its own page, be super descriptive. A great thing that you can actually do when you are, you know, researching for your e-commerce, you know, I love to look at other website e-commerce sites and see kind of what they're doing. I know myself, I'm one of those intense researchers before I buy anything online. It makes your potential customer's life easier if you have a great product description, you have all the specs, right? And then of course images, but a great thing that you can do, and one thing that I know we're not fans of Amazon, but Amazon does, you know, provide user images, which is great. It shows actual customers using the product. That can be a great thing that you can integrate right into your images if you don't have necessarily a review section, right? And then related products for upsell, right? We always want to include related products for upsell. User reviews. You can also combine product photos with videos if that can help to sell your product or service. And then, as Sophie was saying earlier, make sure that you're leveraging Messenger and chat bots. Definitely you can have a chat bot on your website, which is great, but make sure that you have set up an automated response if you're not necessarily available right away, so that they feel that they're being responded to, and that automated response says, hey, our hours are, you know, maybe 9 to 5. We're not here right now, but we can't wait to get back to you at 9 o'clock tomorrow morning or something like that, okay? And then urgency is very, very, very important. So I just wanted to point out a couple things that could improve the urgency piece. So some things that you can definitely implement to create urgency on your website, but also through any kind of social media posting. Urgency is huge, right? You have to give them that extra push. So countdown timers can be great. Limited availability is huge. If there's a limited number, you definitely want to be putting that in your copy. New can help, using the word new if it's a new product. If you have any new products or services, make sure that you're communicating that right away when it happens. Build up that excitement that it is new, right? Discounts can be great. Personalization can also be a great way to convey urgency. Make sure that the language that you use also conveys urgency. There's lots of different words that you can use, as we talked about in copywriting, to convey urgency. You can also use different payment options to get people, if your target market is price sensitive, or if you want to kind of get them to visualize the price in a different way. Instead of using, you know, $199, you could say 5 payments of $39.80, right? So there's different ways that you can do that to convey urgency. And maybe you say, if you buy today, it will be 5 payments of $39.80 kind of thing. Remarketing can be great. So you guys have probably heard of this maybe before, maybe it's happened to you. You know, if you look at that cute outfit online, and then all of a sudden it starts following you around different places where you go online, that's remarketing, okay? So you can do some paid advertising in that way to remarket to the customer. Maybe, you know, they got busy and they put their phone down, they forgot about the cute outfit they were looking at online, or maybe they, you know, just were not interested in buying it right away. And then they had to actually, studies have shown, typically people have to have about 7 touch points with that business or that product before they purchase. So remarketing can be a great tool for that. Pop-up offers are great as well. So I would recommend introducing that into your website if you don't have it already. And then my tips are definitely to investigate lots of different plugins for your website. Some of them can be free, some of them are paid, but they can definitely make a difference. Okay, so that's some tips for urgency. Oh my gosh, congratulations. We just finished our 4-part series. I hope you all have a wonderful day, wonderful rest of your summer, and I can't wait to see all of your businesses online. You can add me to LinkedIn if you want, and I'll make sure to follow along with everything that you're working on. Have a great day, guys. See ya.
Bye.